Good morning. What am I doing standing in front of all these beautiful Ram pickups? Notice I said pickups, not trucks, because I am a farm boy. Hey, I'm not getting one, unfortunately, but you'll find out right after this message. Hey, a couple days ago, I had a friend give me a call. He works for a company here in Salt Lake that actually leases pickups to oil fields, windmill farms, farmers, anyone that wants them. And he called me the other day and said, hey, we need to shuttle some pickups to our lot from the dealer. So will you come help us? So here I am. I'm here to help you. And I'm expecting him to pull up any minute. So I don't know if I'll be able to finish this, but I'll get started anyway. But as I was getting ready this morning, I started thinking back on my childhood, and I started remembering my very first, excuse me for looking around, just want to make sure I don't get ran over. I started remembering my first childhood traumatic experience, the one that probably started my whole stress going on. And so I've never been the same since. I could have died, but I didn't even know I could have died. Well, welcome back. I didn't get very far this morning before my buddy showed up to have me help him transport vehicles back and forth. We transported 24 today, and I think you can tell that the weather's changed just a little bit today. And I was just getting into sharing a story on my most traumatic experience growing up, and I don't remember exactly where I left off, so I'm just going to start it. This was the beginning of my stress, I think, and where that challenge came from. I was 5.5 years old, and I was out in the field with my dad and my little brother, and my dad's sugar beet cultivator had broken down. He was cultivating those beets in the spring, and he needed the tractor up at the shop. He needed his pickup up at the shop so that he could go to town to get some parts to fix his cultivator. And he looked at me and said, Mark, do you know how to drive? And I looked up at him, big smile I'm sure, and said, yep. Because after all, how hard could it be? I'd been watching him and Mom all my life, right? Then he asked the all-important question, you know how to stop? I said, yep. And how do you do that? And I looked up at him and said, you turn the key off. And that was back in the day before automatic transmissions, and we had a stick shift, so I'm sure he figured put it in first gear. I wouldn't be going too fast as far as he knew, and so everything would be safe, and if I turned the key off, that would be great. So with my little brother in the back of the pickup, my dad got the pickup started, headed out of the field, slid out, shut the door behind him, and I immediately slid over behind the steering wheel and positioned myself and pressed the gas all the way to the floor as I headed out through the field. And I went into the bar pit. I don't think I even slowed down as I went into the bar pit to get on the road. I know I didn't look either direction, and it was actually on a hill, so it could have been a pretty bad situation, but I just went tearing out on the road and up to the house as fast as that pickup would go in first gear. And it was making so much noise, my mom heard it from the house. And so she ran to the front window and she saw this pickup with no driver in there, and her little 4-year-old son in the back of the bed hanging on for dear life. And then, of course, as I approached, she could see my face between the steering wheel and the dashboard. And I pulled into the yard and maneuvered that pickup between the family car and the school bus. My dad used to drive school bus to help make ends meet when he first started farming. And sure enough, I turned the key, but I turned it the wrong way. And I ran over my dad's motorcycle. I ran over the bicycle stand and finally came to the rest in the backyard, just as the backyard and the field behind our house met. And it finally killed the engine and stopped. And of course I knew I was going to be dead. So I took off running into the house to hide, and my mom was coming out. She tried to grab me, but she just let me go because my little brother was in the back of the pickup just screaming his lungs out, and I'm pretty sure he left little hand marks right there on the side of the bed. He was hanging on so tight. And I ran upstairs and hid, and pretty soon I hear this knock on the door, the closet door where I was hiding, and it was my mom. And she said, "Mark, come out." And I'm like, how did she find me here? I was hiding in my sister's closet. How would anyone ever find me in my sister's closet? She said, "Come out, it's not your fault, you're not in trouble." Which I knew was a big story because I'd done a lot less and had received some pretty good punishment. So I figured the only way out of this situation was death. But she tried and tried, and I wouldn't move, and she finally heard Dad come pull the tractor into the shop, and so she went down the shop, and this is her side of the story here. She walked in and said, "Cecil, it's not his fault." And he said, "What's not whose fault?" "It's not his fault." "It's not whose fault?" "It's not his fault." "Whose fault? What's going on?" And so she finally told him what was going on. And so next thing I know, knock, knock, knock on the closet door, and sure enough, it was my dad. Said, "Mark, come out, you're not in trouble." And again, I knew better than that. But my dad can be very persuasive at times. So I came out, and he gave me a big hug, said sorry. I didn't know who I'd taught how to drive, just with 7 kids, I just assumed you knew how, and I'm sorry, it's my fault. And so it turned out well, but there for about 3 minutes, I thought I was going to be dead. So what do you do when you only have 3 minutes to live? So I hope you enjoy this story. I hope you got to know me a little bit better. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Make sure you give me a thumbs up. Leave any questions and comments about stress resilience down in the comments below, or subjects you'd like to hear about. And we will get back to you later. And until next time, to your stress resilience, goodbye.